A 5-year-old daughter named Nia is caught between her family. Why? Her mom and dad are drug addicts and they're about to go to prison for 15 years. The only thing that's saving Nia, well, it seems like it's her aunt. Guys, this story is crazy. It has multiple updates and you will not believe how this one ends. Let's get right to it. So, I'm 30 female. My stepbrother Sam and his girlfriend Jen got caught up in some legal drug stuff and are addicts. They're looking at 8 to 10 years in jail with a plea deal. They have a 5-year-old daughter named Nia. With their court date approaching, Sam and Jen asked dad and stepmom to continue caring for Nia during their sentence. Sam and Jen were supposed to find a permanent place, but Jen's family said no. The issue is, dad is legally blind and stepmother has cancer. Neither of them's capable of caring for a small child long term. My stepmom is extremely exhausted from chemo and can barely get out of bed most days. So Nia is pretty much stuck in the house all day. My dad tries, but he cannot drive, so the furthest they go are just walks around the house. Now, I own my own home, so I do have room for Nia. My dad and stepmom called me and asked if I would be willing to take in Nia. My boyfriend, well, he's on board. Well, we discussed it. He made some good points. 8 to 10 years is a long time, and we would be investing a lot of resources and time into Nia, making sure she has the best opportunities. He then asked, what would happen when they get released? Would she have to go back to her parents? What about her mental well-being and needs? Would we have to fight in court? How would we handle letting her go? So I called a family lawyer, and they suggested having Sam and Jen sign away parental rights. I sat down with Sam and Jen and explained that I would take Nia, but only under the condition that they signed over their rights with visitation scheduled and immediately upon their release. Jen started screaming at me, accusing me of trying to steal her daughter and taking her place. I advised that my intention is only to ensure the betterment of Nia long term. Sam then said that they were her parents and knew what was best for her. I said, well, if they did, they would have gotten clean and not done what they did to get jail time. They told me that they would rather her be in foster care than sign over rights. I said okay and left. Now, Jen's family's on social media making posts that I'm trying to steal their sister's child. They were calling my phone a lot to tell me off. So I told them if they cared so much, then they can take her. My dad, stepmom, boyfriend, and family agree with me. I told some of my friends about this, and they're all saying that I'm wrong for using Sam and Jen's addiction to strip them of their child. Now, I'm wondering if I am wrong or taking it too far. I feel bad because, well, if I don't take her, she'll end up in foster care. I know she isn't my daughter, but I'll be raising her during the most crucial development time. And I just don't want her potential wasted like her parents. What's up, guys? Mr. Reddito here. I hope you're enjoying your day so far. This story has multiple updates, and we're going to see exactly how this story turns out. If you're new to the channel, go ahead and click that subscribe button underneath this video right now, and make sure you hit those bells as well. The reason you want to do that is so you never miss out on any future updates. Alright guys, let's get back to the story. I just want to say thank you to everyone who provided me with advice of your stories. To those who grew up in the foster care system and had a hard time, I wish you love and peace. My stepmom's condition has gotten worse. Now she's pretty much bedridden. My dad was getting overwhelmed, so we decided to take Nia earlier than expected. We sat down with the social worker and both signed to become her legal guardians for now. How's Nia? Her first few days here were hard on her. She really missed her Meemaw and Pawpaw. She cried at night a lot and was really closed off. I spoke to my dad and he suggested getting her a cat, since he always told her he would get one. He even offered to cover the expenses. My boyfriend and I talked about it, and well, we took her to the animal shelter, and well, she fell in love with a cat named Nobi. Since getting Nobi, Nia has really relaxed. They do everything together. Nobi never leaves Nia's side. My dog is very chill and unbothered by the new people in the house. She just lays on the couch and watches the madness play out. Nia FaceTimes my parents daily. She talks crap about my cooking to them, saying stuff like, "It's good, Pow Pow, but yours is better." Well, dang, little girl, hurt much? I take her to visit on the weekends with my stepmom sick. We do a lot of sanitizing and 6 feet distancing. Only Nia gets close to her. My boyfriend took to the parental role a lot easier than I did. He's currently reading her Harry Potter. We agreed to stop at The Prisoner of Alakazam, since the books start to get darker there and we don't want to traumatize her. We told her at 11 she'll be sorted into her house and we will go to Hogwarts. As for me, once I got a routine down, it's been easy. I also think it's because my boyfriend's just simply so amazing and really does half of the work, so I'm not overwhelmed. Sam and Jen, well, they were sentenced, and it'll be for the max time. We have to wait until they get to the tele visits, so we're preparing for that. Nia does not ask about her parents at all. She sees a child therapist and they believe it's because my parents mainly raised her, that she views them as mommy and daddy. I sat down with my dad and he told me a lot of what happened over the 5 years. I just thought they watched her a lot, but the truth is, she's been in their care since she was 2. And that Sam and Jim had just gotten unsupervised visits when everything happened. This explained why the social worker was adamant I had nothing to worry about. So for now, we're making sure she gets as much time with her Meemaw as possible. Again, thank you for all your help and perspectives. Alright guys, Mr. Reddito here again. So I have another post from the OP. It's not the same storyline. The title is, "Am I the a-hole for refusing to pay directly to my niece's grandmother for Disney?" This is about Nia, so we're going to go ahead and jump into it. So, I'm the guardian of my niece Nia. Nia's maternal grandmother, May, reached out to me wanting to take Nia on a family vacation to Disney World, the resort for 4 days and 3 nights with the rest of the family. In total, it would be Nia, May, her partner, aunt and uncle, their partners, and 3 kids, so 10 people in total. She said it would be the first week of September and that the price for Nia would be $1,200, not including food and shopping. I was taken aback by the price, especially since this was so last minute, but figured since it's Disney, I guess that makes sense. I asked for the itinerary so I could get an understanding of what I would need to pack for her to go. May was hesitant but gave it. What surprised me was she marked off the prices for things and what it would cost each person. Now, anyone who knows me knows that I pay places directly and don't just give money to people. So I called May and asked for her information for the trip to pay the agency directly. This is what she said. No, I could just give her the money. Well, I told her that I was not comfortable with that. She then said that she wasn't comfortable giving me the account information. Well, I said, okay, can you give me the agent's information so I can give your name and pay her? I then asked her to call the agent and I could pay with her on the line. She again said no, I could just pay her. I told her I would think about it and call her back. So I reached up to a friend who works at the same travel agency and gave her all the information to replicate the trip price. She quoted me a trip that would cost $500 per child. Asked my friend if I could call the agent, given the name of the trip holder, and pay. She said yes, I could, but that's it. Well, I called May back 2 days later and again asked her for the agent's name to pay the trip. She told me no and to send her the money now. Well, I put my foot down and said no. She then accused me of looking for a reason to keep Nia from her family. Well, I replied, Absolutely not. And you're the one who sprung a last-minute trip on me for such a large amount, when I'm sure you planned months in advance and only invited Nia as a second thought. She got upset and said that Nia's not invited anymore. I responded, "Oh yeah, such a great grandmother," then I hung up the phone. Well, May was all over social media, accusing me of ruining their trip because I would not send the money for Nia and keeping her from her grandchild. She then said that they had to push it back because they would need to come up with more money and disappointed the other kids. So I commented, "Oh, so let me get this straight. You reached out to me 2 weeks before the trip to invite Nia and wanted me to give you $1,200 up front, not including food and shopping. And I've only met you once? I don't know anyone who would be comfortable with that. Am I the a-hole? I feel I could be because they can't go and their kids are upset. But I feel like I was going to be paying for someone else's share of the trip. Also, some friends are saying that it can come off rude and accusatory. I did not tell Nia about the trip." Alright guys, Mr. Reddito here. So that was a different little spin-off. However, the next topic that we're going to look at from the original poster, the title is, "How do I tell my niece's parents that we plan to move?" You got it right. Things are starting to spice up, and we're going to see what's going on with the family now, once OP breaks the news of the move. Let's jump right in it. Backstory. My niece, 5, and parents, my stepbrother and her mother, will be in prison for the next 15 years due to some criminal activity. They lost custody to my dad and stepmom when my niece was 1 year. Due to my stepmom's illness and dad being legally blind, they would not be able to provide long-term care. This is where my boyfriend and I stepped in and took over guardianship. My niece visits her parents twice a month, more now than she did when they were out and about. So here's the current changes. My job has decided to completely go work from home. They're definitely dubbing it back to the new normal. They have found that productivity and work quality has increased and decreased in callouts and at Atrian rates. In other words, people like working from home. They plan to now renew the lease of all offices and are offering to subsidize those who may need a WeWork space by 75%, which is still hundreds of thousands less than renting larger office spaces. So many employees are deciding to move to places outside the city and different states for bigger space for their family. Then my boyfriend, his job has offered him a promotion, but it's to move to Florida. Now, his parents own a second house and they rent out near where he could be. It's a 4-bedroom, 3-bedroom with a large office. Can make an office space for me and gaming area for boyfriend. About 20 minutes from his new office, by the way. The 1-bedroom has an attached room that boyfriend said can be niece's room, with the attached room being her play area and then study. They're offering it to transfer the deed to him to make his transition there a bit easier. My dad and stepmom have decided to rent their large 3-story home out and settle in their smaller vacation home in Florida about 1 hour away from my boyfriend. This will allow my stepmom some independence as the big house is too much to get around. So I know my niece will miss not seeing them every weekend as they are like her parents. Lastly, mom's retiring at the start of 2022 and is moving with my younger brother to her house in Georgia that she used to rent. My house is fully renovated and can be rented out since it's 2 separate apartments. Okay, here's the issue. I want to move to Florida. I want nicer weather, the school district's better than the current one I live in. Well, the overall living would be better. My boyfriend wants to take the job for the opportunity and increased pay. The house is paid off and I could use this excess income to pay my house down quicker. We agreed to put my name on this house immediately once married and his childhood home would remain his. We can save faster for retirement and niece's college fund. All in all, we could be set up for a promising future. It's so exciting until I remember. My niece's parents. They're looking forward to her visits, and although she doesn't seem interested, I can tell that they need them way more. I'm not sure how to go about this. My parents already had a talk with her about moving, and she wants to go with them. I'm just really stuck. This promotion may never come again from my boyfriend, and he doesn't want to make a quick decision given the guardianship. He's willing to turn it down. It's the best for my niece. I spoke to the caseworker and therapist, and while their attitude is the sounds best for niece approach, as she isn't losing her grandparents, who are the most important people to her. It's kind of a effer parents, as they only are interested because they have nothing better to do. So what do I do now? How do I tell her parents? I need help. She enjoyed Florida. I asked her about it, and she says yes, she wants to move with her grandparents being there too. Alright guys, the final installment of this story is coming up right now. So let's jump right into that. If you're enjoying it so far and you like these multi-update stories, smash that like button and show a little bit of support. Here's your final update. First, I want to say Happy New Year. I hope this year is better because we all surely need it. I'm the legal guardian of my step-niece. She's 5 years old. She came to my life with me and my boyfriend after both her parents were arrested and sent to prison. My dad and stepmom were her original caregivers, but my stepmom is sick and dad's legally blind. Before their arrest, my stepbrother and his girlfriend were supposed to be working on getting custody of her back, but ended up doing some illegal stuff that jeopardized my niece's safety. So she had been in our care since March because my parents could not care for her long term. It wasn't easy. She would cry for her grandparents and was just withdrawn. Once she got her cat Nobi, she opened up completely and has settled in nicely. We were at my parents' for the New Year's and we were tucking her in and reading her a bedtime story. We told her goodnight and she said, "Good night, Mommy. Good night, Daddy," with the biggest smile on her face. Honestly, I've never heard words so sweet. In all my years, I could not see myself as a parent, responsible for another human being. Now, if she spends the night with my parents, I'm concerned. When she's out, the quiet in the house just doesn't feel right. I know she isn't our biological, but she feels like it. She calls us by our names with Auntie and Uncle, so she is aware that we aren't her parents. Yet, we work so hard to make our home and life forever. It's a safe place for her. My dad and stepmom heard, and of course they think it's okay, but that's because they raised her and want the family she wasn't going to get. My boyfriend, well, he's on cloud 9 and has been whispering dad and smiling. I, on the other hand, ugly cried out of happiness. Okay, let's talk about this. It was a lot of posts. I want to read this comment first. Oh, that poor little baby. OP and boyfriend really stepped up to give that child so much needed stability. She's so lucky to have them. Laugh out loud at the grandmother, though, trying to finesse a trip out of them. That's when comment number 2 replied with this. Seriously, though, what grandparent arranges a trip to take their grandchild on and then expects the cost to be covered by someone else? Then says the trip's ruined and no one can go. Yeah, that was a straight-up scam. Guys, let me know exactly what you thought of that story. It had a lot of moving parts to it, a lot of posts, but hey, tell me your favorite post or your favorite story from it, and we're going to turn our attention to story number 2. I'm buying a house, and my parents did not care, until I did not invite them. Kind of a success story in the dealings. Guys, if you're not subscribed to the channel, just take a second and click that subscribe button. It helps me out so much and it supports the channel. Thank you for that, and here's today's final story. I've known exactly what I want for as long as I can remember. It's achievable, I go after it. One of those things was a house, specifically a white farmhouse. I've been living in an apartment for 9 months now. My lease is over on the 12th month mark. I have a couple thousand saved up, and I've been working on my credit for a year. It was a perfect time to start looking, and I found something I liked. Then I'll get it. A family friend is a loan officer, and she recommended a real estate agent. We meet up, make a plan, and I got the process started. At that point, I knew I should probably tell my parents to prevent any debates or arguments about it, and they owe me a couple thousand too. I go to lunch at their house every Tuesday, and I work up the courage to bring it up as I'm about to leave. I say, "Hey, I've been talking to the loan officer, and she recommended this agent, and we've started looking for houses." I get no response for either of them, and they don't even look my way. I continue by saying, "I know that you guys still owe me some X amount of money. I don't need it, but it would be extremely helpful in the process." It takes a minute, but my dad goes, "Well, we have to pay $20,000 in taxes for this quarter, so I can't pay you for a while." My mom still won't look at me. I said okay, and I leave. They never mentioned it again. A couple weeks later, I'm now touring houses. Throughout those weeks, I tried and drop hints and try to include them in the process, but they just seem completely uninterested. I go look at my first few houses, and I'm considering putting an offer on one, but I wanted to look at it one more time and see another house first. My sister is also interested in buying a house, but for now, she's just watching the market. And she sends me different ones to check out. This one that she sent me, I'd already asked my agent about, and I gave her a call to tell her about it. My sister answers, and my mom is with her. About 5 minutes through the call, my mom takes her phone and starts talking to me. At first, it's cordial, but then she says my dad does not feel included, and it's making them upset. I say, "Well, I did not know either of you wanted to be included." Now, this conversation should have ended with them asking if they can come along to a house showing, but instead, my mom gets defensive. Now she starts going off. She brings up everything that I do and she doesn't agree with, and how I'm ruining my life and making terrible decisions. This goes on for 2 hours and 45 minutes. Yeah, I looked. This has already been such an anxious week for me, and I wasn't sleeping either. This was just the icing on the cake. I was done. I hung up on her because I realized this was going nowhere. I was done defending my actions and trying to give them the benefit of the doubt. I hung up and did not talk to either of them for 72 hours. Since then, I've kept looking and I found one I want. I'm moving out in November 18th because my dad and I are so similar. We get along fairly well, but we both struggle with communicating. I now know how much he wanted to be a part of this, and I basically forced him to have a conversation about it with me. He told me right now is a terrible time to buy a house, and it would be terrible investment. He went on about how the market's terrible and interest rates are way too high, and how difficult it would be for finance. This went on for 20 minutes. I was trying to find a good way to acknowledge him, but at the same time, I already knew what he was saying and had taken it into account. I finally say, "Dad, I know. I've already thought of that, and the market could crash tomorrow or in 6 years. I don't know, and neither do you, so it doesn't matter. What matters is I need a place to live, and I don't want to rent for another year. If I'm able to buy it right now, why shouldn't I?" He agreed with me, and since then, I've tried to very best include him in all the process. I brought him to the house, and later that night, he told me how proud he was of me, and that this is a huge accomplishment. I got my white farmhouse, and I can't wait to make it my own. Alright guys, I need to know from y'all, what do you think of these two comments? They go back and back. You've done what you think's best for you. Nothing wrong with that in the slightest. Funny how your mother did not care until someone else could see or hear about it, and then threw her toys out the pram like the attention-seeking brat she is. Enjoy moving and making it to your space. I've not lived at home for 3 years, and in 2 separate places, and my parents haven't bothered to see either of them. But it also means their crazy has never been in here. I hope the move goes well. That's when comment 2 comes up and says, "Never thought of it that way. I moved 4 hours away from home, and my parents have only seen me up here twice in 10 years. I have some family that on multiple occasions just drove past my area without a word for me to find out later. Guys, have you had any similar situations like these commenters? Maybe moving far away and just losing contact with someone. Also, tell me what you thought of the story. Drop all your comments down below. Guys, I want to thank you for joining in so much. And remember, it's cool to be kind. Mr. Reddito will be here every single day. And I'll catch you in the next one.